Hi everyone, welcome to my November Christmas card class. How is everyone doing today? I'm just going to go on here a second to make sure everything is doing what it's supposed to do here. Let's see here, make sure that's right. Make sure I have everything lined up the way it needs to be. I think we're good. You can, it's kind of a glare. Well, we'll stick a stamp under there so you guys can see it. Well, welcome. I'm glad you're here with me today. Can you believe this is the end of our Christmas card classes? The last one that my series. I can't believe it went so fast. Well, I'm glad you guys could join me today. Today we're going to be using the Perfectly Plaid stamp set, and we're going to be using the Tidings of Christmas Designer Series paper with these today. So if you have your kit, you're going to want to get those out. And when I send out my kits, I always send a little treat. And this is a little treat that I made. I did use an envelope punch board on it to make the holder for it. But again, this is the paper from the Christmas Tidings. So one thing I do want to show you before we get started, I'm not sure if you checked out my blog this week, but I'm starting my Merry Christmas Monday, sorry, series. I started last Monday, and so for the next 7 weeks, I will be doing a project and sharing it with you on Mondays on my blog, stampinscrapper.com. But I want to show you the first project that I made. I just love how this turned out. Hi, Sharon. Thank you for joining. Here is the front of it. This is called an accordion card. The one I made is an expandable accordion card. I've been getting lots of emails and text messages and Facebook messages. Do I have a video on how to make this? No, I do not. I'm not planning on making a video, but there are so many of them on YouTube. If you search accordion or expandable accordion, cards, you will get the directions for them. But so this is the front of it. It's like a book. Here's the back of it. But when you open it up, and this would be tied with a bow, if you open it up and you go like this, voila, I hope I can get this all in. There is my card. Now, I did use a bunch of different things on this card. That is explained in my blog on what I used for it. But you can also stand this up like this, and it could be a decoration. I'm going to stand mine up in my craft room, so I still have it up so I can see it, but I just love how this turned out. So I will be making more of those. So I wanted to share that with you. And don't forget to come back on Mondays at stampinscrapper.com. Okay, let's go ahead and get started because we have a lot to do today. Our first packet you want to pull out, if you ordered my packet, is this one on here. Now, I do want to tell you something on this packet. 2 of your pieces are cut too long, so you're going to have to trim those. I'll show you when we start working here. And this is the card. Whoops, let me get my stuff off. This is the card we're going to be making today. And you open it up, and then I have a piece of paper here and a sentiment. You're going to see some marks on here. I had class last night, so some of my cards got a little bit of marks on them. But here is what we will be making. I'll put this off. I think you can see it if I set it right there. So our first page is our card base. Goodness, I am just going blank here. Is our card base. And this is Evening Evergreen. And it is cut at 5.5 by 8.5. And we're going to score that at 4 1/4. So go ahead and you're going to burnish this. Now I put my finger in the middle. Let me make sure I'm up high enough. I think I am. You're going to put your finger in the middle here. Line up your edges. Put your finger here. Bring it down and go to each side. And then you know that it is perfectly lined up. Now I try very hard to keep the papers straight, cut to the exact number that you need them cut at. But sometimes, it moves a little bit on me. But that's one way to make sure that it's straight. Then you're going to have your envelope, and we're going to stamp that with a tree. You're going to have a 4 1/4 by 5.5, 4 by 5 1/4. Goodness gracious, Joyce. Piece of white. And then you're going to have 2.5 by 5.5. Now this is cut at 6 inches, I believe. Yes, it is. This is one that I did not cut right. You're going to have to cut a ½ an inch off. I'm going to show you how you can do it when we have it on here, or you can do it when on your trimmer. And then this one is going to be a ½ inch by 5 1/4. Again, this is cut at 6 inches. I forgot to trim it. So you're going to cut off 3/4 of an inch there. Then we have a circle, layering circle dies. And this is the biggest circle. That's a plain straight edge, not the scallop. And then we also have this one. Now, I will tell you, I cheated a little bit on this. I did use a punch. I used a 2½ inch punch, but you can definitely use one of the circles in the layering dies set. So let's go ahead and get started on this. So we're going to get our stamping done first. On this card, we're going to be using this tree, and we're going to be using the Merry Christmas. And on this one, I have May this special season be wrapped in love and joy. Now, at my in-person classes, which I had last night, I accidentally stamped it in this one. I always make 2 cards, so one can be on each end. And this one, I put the May this special season be wrapped in love and joy. The other one I put hoping that your busy year comes together with Christmas cheer. So you could put either one you want in it, whatever your little heart desires. This is your project. Now, one thing you're going to need, you're going to need grid paper like this, or a piece of scrap paper or something, because we're going to be stamping off a lot today in our project. So you're going to need that. But what I want to do, I'm going to do my inside first. I'm going to line this up with my grid paper. Love my grid paper. I use it for everything. So I'm going to line that up. And then I'm just going to lay this. No, I have not trimmed it yet. But I'm just going to lay it there. I'm not adhering it yet because I'm going to stamp it with my cherry cobbler ink. And I'm going to use this one, the one that says May this special season be wrapped in love and joy. But the reason why I'm just laying that there is, number one, you never adhere anything to your papers or anything until you have stamped it. Because if you mess up, you can flip it over and do it again. So, but the reason why I wanted to lay that on there is because I want my sentiment to be centered between the edge of this and the edge of my white. If I didn't have that on there, I would be trying to center it with the white, but then it's going to be too close to the designer series paper. So that's why I have it just laying on there. I'm going to ink this up, and I'm going to just stamp it kind of, I would say, a little bit above halfway. I'll just put it right there, and there we go. So now it's centered kind of between the two. So that's all we need for the inside. So let me quick clean this off, because remember, we don't want to have ink on our stamps, number one, when we're done with them. You want to wash them off, because otherwise you could get ink on your project, ink on your hands, and then it gets on your project. Oh my goodness, trust me. How do I know this? Because I've done it. Okay, so because this is a skinny piece, I'm going to bring out my silicone craft sheet so I don't get adhesive on my grid paper. Now I'm going to go ahead and put tape on this, but I'm not going all the way to the end, because remember, I have to trim it. So I'm going to go ahead and line this up. Put it on here. Press that down. And then I'm going to flip it over, grab my paper snips, and I'm just going to trim that off. Perfect. There we go. So then we could go ahead, because this is all we're doing through the inside, we can go ahead and add this to the center of our project. Oh, I need to leave those out because I need to use those again. Okay, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to show you again my little trick if you haven't seen it before. So how do I get this centered all the time? I do get that asked a lot. What you're going to do is I'm laying it up like this. So I'm not laying it flat down yet. So I'm laying it up like this. I'm going to make sure that the distance is the same around all 3 sides. So I'm going to hold it here, and then I'm going to drop it. And then I'm going to put it down here. And it's perfectly centered. And that's how I do mine. So now we can go ahead and we can put on our other piece of designer series paper on the front. Now again, I know I need to cut off a 1/2 inch. So I did not put any adhesive here. I went down about a 1/2 inch with my adhesive. And I'm just going to bring it in. Oh, I would say that's probably 1/4 inch that I brought that in on the side. So I line up the bottom. Make sure that's straight. Lay it down and then press it down. And then again, I'm just taking my paper snips and I'm just going to trim that off. Now, like I said, you could use your trimmer and cut these down if you want, or you can do it this way, whichever way works best for you. Okay, so that's good. So now we can also put on our green circle. So let's go ahead and do that. And this one, I just eyeballed it. I'm like, oh, that looks good. So there was no real, like, oh, I got to have it up an inch. Nothing. I just kind of went, that looks good. And I pressed it down. So now let's go in with our stamping. Okay. So when we get going on this one, we're going to need first our Evening Evergreen ink. Now we're going to be stamping off. So that's where we're going to need either, like I said, I'm going to use my grid paper. You could get an extra piece of paper out if you want, whatever you want to use. So what you're going to do is you're going to ink it up. And what I mean by stamping off is, so I'm going to take it here. I'm going to ink it up. I think, yeah, you can see that. Okay, so I'm going to ink it up. I'm going to press it down on here. Not real hard. I just want to take a little bit of the ink off. Take that off, and then I'm going to stamp here. Now, my first one, I'll show you how I did it. Okay, my first one is right here. Now, I kind of went up a little more than what I wanted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip that over because I wanted my other two up higher, but I see if I go, well, maybe not. I might be able to make it work. Let's try. Let's try here. And if I don't like it, we'll redo it. How's that sound? Okay. So I want these up a little bit higher. So I'm going to put one on each side. Like that. And I didn't stamp off. So I am going to flip it over because I forgot to stamp off. Oh, goodness. It's going to be one of those days. Okay. Stamp off, then stamp. So now I can bring it down a little bit. There. So I wanted to bring it down just a little bit because I want my next two up higher. Stamp off. Okay, do it again. Stamp off. Now you will see that this is, if you look at this compared to this, it's quite a bit darker. The reason is, this was before I inked my ink pad. These are after I inked my ink pad. So that's why these are going to be a little bit darker than that. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to clean that up. No, we're not. We're going to stamp our envelope with it first. And I did not stamp it off. I just stamped it right on there. Okay, now we're going to stamp the Merry Christmas. So now we need the cherry cobbler. Okay, and then we're going to stamp this just kind of above the trees a little bit because we want to put, there we go. Okay, so you can see, I want to show you the difference here. This was stamped off once before it was re-inked. This was after it was re-inked. So it's a little bit darker. It's a little bit harder to see. So this is what I would probably do on the rest of my cards since I re-inked it, is I'll show you on my grid paper so you can see what I mean. So what I probably would do is I'm going to re-ink it, stamp off again, and then stamp it on my card like that. So it's lighter like that. So sometimes you have to stamp off twice because of the amount of ink that's in there. So now we're making 3 cards of each design because we have 4 different designs, but I'm only going to show you how to do one of the cards. So on your other cards, if your ink pad is very wet like mine is, you can do that too. Now, if your ink pad is super, super, super wet, and there's just way too much ink on it, what you need to do, and I'm just going to show it. I don't want to do it because mine's not that wet on my ink pad, and I don't want to take the ink off. But what you would do is you would take, imagine this ink pad open. You would take a scrap piece of paper. You would take your ink pad, and it's open, and you're going to put it on there, and you're going to press it, and you're going to lift it up, and it's going to take a bunch of that ink out. So if that happens to you, that's how you want to take some of the ink out of this. Okay, so now we can go ahead and adhere this on here. And I did pop this, so we're going to need some dimensionals. Ooh, a new pack of dimensionals. I always love it when things are new like this. Makes me happy. So I put 4 of them on here. I do put quite a bit of dimensionals on my stuff. I just want to make sure that it stays popped and where I want it. Oops. Okay. So now I'm going to just adhere that to here. Oops, I covered up my card, didn't I? Okay. There we go. And then let's make our bow. If you have a bow maker, now I'm going to try something. Last night, some of the ladies, I did make this a little bit longer. She made a double bow. So I'm going to try what it looks like with a double bow. Now my tails are going to be a little bit shorter because of it being a double bow. I'm not sure if this is long enough really to do a double bow, but we're going to try. Oh, it is. I think I can get a double bow done. Let's see here. Oh, that's cute. I do like the double bow. Oops, let's pull this apart. Okay. All right, let me get a glue dot to put that on. Make a glue dot. Okay, now I like to use my take your pick tool to lift that up. Whoops, I'm stuck to the glue dots. And I got one on my finger. Get down. There we go. They want to be stuck to me today. Okay, and then this, I like that because then I can put better where, you know, put it where exactly I want it. Okay, oh, I really do like that with the double bow. Okay, and then, whoops, wrong scissors. I have ribbon scissors. That this is all I use these scissors for, is ribbon. And I purposely put a piece of ribbon on the handle so I know that that's all these scissors do. They do not cut any paper or anything. So I went ahead, there we go, and put it on like that. And that's your first card that we're going to be making today. So let me clean up my mess here. Okay, so there's card number 1. And I'll put that up there so I can show that to you when we're done. Okay. Our next packet that we're going to have, it's going to be this one, and you had, this piece was not inside of the plastic because it was too big. So that is the one we're going to be using. And this is where you're going to want to get out your 1.5 or 1 1/4 inch punch, circle punch that I had talked to you about. If you had bought my kit, you got an email from me about that. Now, some of you that ordered the kit that did not have that punch, I have already done this step ahead of time for you. So yours will look just a little different, and I'll explain it as we go along. So what we're going to do, this is a fun card. This is the card we're going to be making. But what's really neat is, number 1, it's going to fit in the envelope. So you're going to still use your envelope, but you pull it out like this. Isn't that cool? It's just something different. I thought, why not? For the last one, we got to do something different. So I did see something like this on Pinterest, and I was like, oh, we got to make this. So let's go ahead, and we want to use the green part first. So let's get this out. We're going to make this part first. Now, if you, like I said, if you didn't have the punch, this part is already folded for you, and you already have your punches punched out, your circles punched out. So, but you can go ahead and do the rest of this. Okay, so what we have here is, this is cut at 5.5, whoops, wrong paper. Hold on. I got cheat sheets here that I make up for each one. And I forgot to change it. That was our old one. Okay, so the green on here is going to be 6 inches by 9 1/4. You're going to score it at 2 1/4, 6 1/2, and then you're going to score the bottom here at 1/2 inch. So you're going to need to get out your paper snips. And this is what it's going to look like when we're done cutting. So I have you will notice this is bigger than this side. So you want the bigger side on your left. You're going to cut out these triangles right here, the bottom here. You want to cut out those little rectangles right there. I think I just said triangles, rectangles. And you're going to angle this at just a little bit. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to, whoop, there's something on my scissors. I'm going to come up and I do my angle first. So I'm going to cut up the angle. Now, when you go to cut this, I want you to see this. This is the mountain. You always want the mountain on the inside, the valley on the outside, because that means I've already stretched the fibers of the paper for you, so it's ready to crease. But on this, so you usually, when I'm doing these, I'm going to cut right down the middle. So like you would cut right on the crease of this. But what I want you to do this time is cut right above that. I'll show you here what I mean. Whoops, I need to get my light better. I got so much light on that's actually sometimes hard to see. Okay, so see how it's right, you get that crease right there? I cut right above it. And the reason is it'll be easier to fold, and I'll show you when we go to fold it, you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to cut my little notch out of here first, cut at an angle, and then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to cut this. So that's all the cutting that you're going to do on this, which is nice. You're going to need your tear and tape or strong adhesive. You could use liquid glue. You could use our Stampin' Seal Plus, possibly even our Stampin' Seal, because that's pretty strong. You could use that on there. So you're going to have it laying here again. You're going to have your big section on your left, middle section, little section on the right. So on the left-hand side here, we're going to put tear and tape. And I'm going to show you a little trick that I shared with my ladies last night. When you have your tear and tape, a lot of people will take it like this and trying to get it, and the one lady couldn't get it the way she wanted, and I'm like, hey, let me show you a trick. I don't remember where I saw this. I do know I saw it online. But what you do is, so you have it hanging, your end piece hanging down like that, stick your hand through it, just like this. Just take your hand, stick it through, and hold on to the tear and tape like this with your thumb and your first finger, your pointer finger. And then if you want to start, you can do it lower. So you can have it as big as you want. So you're going to lay it down like this. Now, this is my second trick. Take an old gift card. So I take this and I push it down all the way. So I'm making sure that's adhered. I put it to the end, hold it and rip it. And then you have, so it's, if you're like me, this one, I must have had it tilted a little bit. I like this nice and clean. I don't want to get adhesive all over my scissors. So that is why I use the the gift card. But when you push it down like that, then you know it's adhered. So we're going to do that. Also on here, you want to put it. Now I want to show you another little trick. This, because of how I ripped it there, it's at an angle. Awesome. I'm going to flip mine around because, watch what happens. It's going to match up perfectly with that angle right there. So I can just bring it over here. Whoops, I got to bring it down so I can see it. The joys of being short. Okay, so I want to get this on there like that. Okay, and I'll show you, you can do that too when you get done at the end. Angle it so it's the same as your paper and rip it and see how they are lined up with your paper. And I really like to do that too. But like I said, you guys all know me and my OCDness. So then when you get those on, so we got tear and tape on the bigger side, which is your left-hand side. You have it on your little flap down here. We've cut out our sections here. Now we're getting ready to burnish it. So we're going to turn So you want to, on all of your folds, burnish it. Now, this is what I want you to do before you burnish the end. You're going to put down the little piece, the smaller side. Put down your left side, the bigger piece. Then I want you to bring this up like this. Before you really burnish it, we're just folding it. Then burnish it. Then we know, oops, I need to trim that a little bit. Then we know that it's going to fit and it's not going to push up your paper. If it does push up your paper, because it's not, because your flaps are too long. Sometimes if these are too long, it'll make this not lay nice, and then this buckles, and you don't want that. So that's why I had you go a little bit above the score line so that you can get that. So we're going to go ahead now and take off our tear and tape. Now you can use tweezers for this. I use my take your pick. Just lift that up and rip that off. I just go ahead and do both of them at the same time. Rip that off. So I am going to bring the little side, smaller side in, then my big side, but don't fold it so super tight. You just want to lightly fold it over, lightly fold this over, because remember, we still need to slide a piece of paper in there, and then bring this up. And there you have it. Now, when you're doing that and you already have your circles punched out, make sure that your circles are lining up when you're putting this down. So to do the circle on the card right here, see this part right here? That's what we're going to do right now. I'll leave that up there for a minute in case anyone still needs to see that. So what you're going to do is, I'm using the 1.5 inch circle punch. Stampin' Up used to sell this, but it is now retired, but I keep all my punches. We were actually talking about this morning at our team meeting, that I love punches. If there's a new punch out, I'm getting it. So and I don't get rid of them either. So what you're going to do is you're going to slide this in about halfway. Now I'm only putting it in, I'm putting it like in the pocket. So I'm opening up the pocket like this. I'm sliding the punch in so that I can see where I'm going to punch. So I am going to put this, and I want to center it between each side. So I have the same amount on each side. I'm going to put it right there, and I'm going to punch. Okay, so then what you're going to do, well, how do we line these up? Well, here what you're going to do is you're going to put them together, squeeze them together, put them both in, and you're going to take this and you're going to line that, pull the circle that you just punched out, line it up with this one, with your, so I lined up the top. See how I have this circle here? I lined that up with the inside of my punch. So right now I'm putting through both pieces of paper, but it's only going to punch out one. And then you punch it, and guess what? It's perfectly lined up. So that's how you do that. Do not try to punch them both out together, because number one, you are basically going through 3 pieces of paper. You have 2 up here, and you have 1 here, and it could possibly ruin your punch. Ask me how I know that, because I did it, and I did ruin my punch. So only do 1 piece at a time when you are punching. So we're all done with that. So let's set that off to, let's set it off to the side, because I want to go ahead and do our stamping. Let me put this off to the side. Go ahead and grab your rest of your packet. Okay, we should have 3 little rhinestones. And then you should have your envelope. Your white piece of paper is 4 by 5 1/4. Your designer series paper is 1 3/4 by 4. And this one, I believe this was cut at 5/8 by 4. Why 5/8? You're thinking, why didn't you just cut it at 1/2 inch? Well, I'll tell you why. Is because I had all these scraps. I had all these little scraps in my, with my paper. And I thought, wait a minute, those fit perfect. They're a little bit bigger, but that's okay. So you can, with this little scrap, you can put it, it goes on the bottom, so you can put this side up Or on this one, I use the green side. So I'm going to, we're not going to hear it yet. We got to do our stamping first. So what I'm going to do is put this off to the side because I want to do my stamping. Now, I'm using the Hoping Your Busy Year. We're going to use the same one. Oh, nope. Hoping that your busy year comes together in Christmas cheer. You can even put your Merry Christmas in here. You can put whatever sentiment you want to inside this. It is totally up to you. We're going to use Cherry Cobbler. Move this over here so I can stick my ink pad there. So I'm going to go ahead and ink this up. I'm going to bring this out just a little bit so I can reach it because I'm short and I'm sitting today. Usually I stand to stamp, but my back is hurting really bad today, so I'm going to sit today. Okay, so then you're going to clean your stamp. I'm using the Simple Chamois. Yes, it looks awful, but it's okay. It still works perfect. You don't have to worry about that. Okay. So now we can put the green on. So you can put it this direction or you can put it this direction. So since I already did one that way, I'm going to flip this one and I'm going to put the other side up. You just put this on the bottom. And there you go. And that is going to slide right inside here. So it just slides in. Whoop, you're done with that part. Okay, now to decorate the outside. Now, oh, you know what? We need to do one more stamping on our envelope. I forgot. I am going to use this tree. It has, I don't know, this is what it looks like, I guess is the best way to show it. It's right there. We're going to do that one. And I'm going to do that one in the Cherry Cobbler too, because it matches the red trees that we're going to put on our project. Now, I did have one lady do it with green, and it looked just as beautiful. But I thought the red tied it into our project nicely. So you can set that off to the side. Okay, so now to decorate the front. Let me show you. This is what the front looks like. Let me put this back in here so we don't lose any of our pieces. So there's the front. Okay, so now you have your piece of designer series paper. This is 1 3/4 by 4 1/4. I saw this on Pinterest, and Lori Pinto is the one that designed this the first time. So I changed some things on mine, but I did get this design from Lori Pinto. I wanted to make sure I put that out there, that I did not create this design. Okay, so for the people that are like me and we like everything centered and everything needs to be right where it's at, you know, where we want it, I'm going to show you how to perfectly center this because that's just me. Okay, so you're going to take your paper. Now this paper can go either way. It can go this way, it can go that way, whichever way you want it. This is 5 1/2, which is great. So that means the middle is 2 3/4. So you're going to put the middle of this on there. So I'm going to go ahead and 2 3/4 is my middle. So this is going to go at 1 7/8 inch is where you want the bottom at. And then it will be perfectly centered on your paper, on your envelope. So then we're going to take our trees. You have 2 plain, 1 with designer series paper. The one with designer series paper we're going to pop, but I'm going to put my solid ones on first. And I'm just trying to, like, here's the center. Okay, bring it down. That's about the center. So that's how I just lightly put it on there like that. And I'm going to bring this down. And I want to make sure that these are pretty close. I think I need to go over just a little bit. Oops. Put it down just a little bit so it stays. That looks good. Okay, so then I'm going to press them down. Then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use a dimensional on the back of mine. And I actually do, okay. Well, I have, see your edges on your dimensionals, don't throw those away, cut them. And so I'm actually, that's what I was looking for, because I knew I had a sheet where I could cut one, where they were cut, and I have a long one, and I'm going to stick that one up here, because that way I can get towards the top to hold the top in place. So take that off, and then I'm going to line it up right here, right in the center of the two of them. And then I'm going to get my rhinestones and add those to the trees. And there you go. And that is how we did our second project. So here we have it. This is our second project. Very nice. Okay. And I need to quick get a drink before we go on to our next one. Okay, this is going to be our next packet that we're going to use. And this is another fun one. This one, let me grab my cheat sheet again. This one, Karen Henderson, I saw this on her blog and I thought it was so cute. This is a little different. This is just a plain one piece of paper right here, but we're going to fold it up and it's going to go like this. And it's a, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on the type of card it is. It's a fun fold card. Yep, it's a fun fold card, and I cannot think of the name of it right now. Oh my goodness. When I get it, I will let you know. But it will show, it will stand up like this, so there you can display your tree. So this is what the card we're going to make. So we're going to want to take out all of our stuff. Okay. So you're going to have cherry cobbler, and this is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Then you're going to have your envelope, and your soft succulent is 2 3/4 by 8 1/4. You're going to score it at 2 1/8 and 4 1/8. And then you're going to have, now, when you look in your easel card, that's it. Thank you. Thank you, Danette and Sharon. I could not think of that name to save my life. Oh my gosh, thank you. You will notice in your card packets that you have a lot of these pieces of paper. Now we're making 3 cards, so you should have 3 of each, right? So in my little brain, I'm thinking, oh, they need 6 of them. I gave you 6 of these and 6 of these. So you have some extras that you can use. If you want to make more of these cards, you can. So you do have more than enough of these in your packet. You're going to have 2, these, oh, I didn't tell you the sizes of these. These are going to be 1 7/8 by 2 5/8 and 2 by 2 5/8. And I will tell you how you can tell which one goes on which. You're going to have 2 of these. They're 1 1/4 by 4 1/8. Our white is 2 by 3. I punched this out using the everyday label punch. We have a circle, 2-inch circle punch. Again, I did use my punch, but you could use layering circle dies for that. And then I cut out a tree for you, and we're going to stamp this. Now, we're going to go ahead and do our stamping first this time because I want to show you a little trick. Now, some of my ladies had a hard time yesterday stamping this and getting it lined up. So I want to show you a couple ways to line it up so it does come out like this. So you want to make sure that your the bottom of the tree is lined up into the center right here. You want to make sure that's lined up. And you want to make sure this part right here at the tip is lined up in the center of that. If you do that, it is going to look okay. So go ahead and use your evening evergreen, and I'll show you what I mean. And if you mess up, flip it over and do it again. That's why we don't adhere anything until we stamp it. Now you might see my head a little bit in here to try to get, so I can get it lined up. I think I got it lined up. Stamp it. Yep, and there you go. I got my point and my trunk lined up. And then while you have this out, stamp one on your envelope. Because remember, we never send out a naked envelope. Shelly, the co-owner of our company, the Stampin' Up company, always says that you never send out a naked envelope. So then we're going to take, since we're stamping, let's keep doing our stamping. Set this little tree off to the side. We're going to do our tag for the inside, and it's going to say Merry Christmas. And I'm using Cherry Cobbler for that. I think Cherry Cobbler is my favorite Christmas color of the reds. I have used this stamp set so much from between last year and this year that my Merry Christmas does not want to stay on to the block very well. But I love this. I love the font in this stamp set. I just love it. So I'm going to order actually a new one because I don't want to get rid of the stamp set. I want to keep it. It's not one that I will sell. So I want to make sure I get it. So I need to order another one. Okay, so let's go ahead and start putting together. Take out your big piece of Cherry Cobbler and your 2 1¼ inch strips of Designer Series paper. You're going to want to put these on first. So let's go ahead and put adhesive on our paper. Now on these, I cut these so there's only a small of the, it's real skinny. It's not the full 1/8, it's like a 1/16 around. So you want to make sure that, oops, that stuck to me. There. So you want to make sure that you have that same distance all the way around it before you adhere it. So I see I have the same distance all the way around, and then I can push it down, and I'm going to do the same thing. Now with this paper, pay attention because it does have a pattern going, you know, it goes one direction. So let me turn this way so I can see better. We're going to do the same thing on here. Okay, so we have that lined up. Then we're going to take our green piece, and I'm going to go ahead and burnish this on the sections, on the score lines. Now, I want to show you how you can tell the difference. So this is going to be folded in half, but this isn't scored at exactly a half because the reason is it would be scored at 16ths, and I know if anyone's like me, we don't want to deal with the 16th, so that's why it's off a little bit. But when you bring this up, and if you just fold this section down, you can see this is longer than that section, so you know your front section is the long piece. So I like to adhere this first before I put on my stripe paper. Now, when you put this on, you want to make sure that you're using a good adhesive. You could use your liquid glue. Our Stampin' CO Plus is great. Our Stampin' CO you could use, or tear and tape, because people are going to be lifting this up a lot. You want to make sure it stays on there, and because it's going to be sitting like this, you want to make sure this doesn't move. So I'm going to actually use our Stampin' CO Plus on mine. Excuse me a minute. My one medicine makes my mouth dry, and I think between team meeting this morning and today, my mouth is getting very dry. Ah. Okay, this is a good lesson. So see what I just did with the Stampin' CO? I got tape. I got paper on here, right? The reason is I pushed too hard. I was pushing too hard on this. So what you do is, so I started to rip it right there. Take it, flip it around, and go like this, and just do it real light. And I'm going to go next to it, and I'm going to put 3 in here. And that's one thing I learned about the Stampin' CO Plus and the Stampin' CO. Don't press hard on it, because that's when it's not going to work light. You just want to have a light hand when you put it on. So then I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to put this on here, and I'm going to center it. between the two pieces. That looks good. And put it on here. And there we go. Okay, so now I'm going to lay these down and I'm going to put my two pieces of designer series paper on. Whoops. Okay, I got a little thing of glue on there. It's going to end up on a project if I don't move it. Okay. So this, what I did was I just laid it like this so that I could tell which one was bigger. It doesn't matter because they're striped, so it doesn't matter which way you put it on. But that's going to go on this section right here. And again, you're not going to have a lot of area around it, just a little bit. And then I'm going to put this one on. Same thing, I'm just centering it. And there we go. Okay, so now on the bottom, we're going to go ahead and adhere our circle. Now, I did not pop anything on the top. And the reason is because we're popping this, and with our little metallic pearls, I did not want to make it too thick that it was going to cost extra money to send it. So I do put this here, and I just lined it up with the edge of my designer series paper. And then I'm going to put on my tree. I'm just centering that too. Put it on here. And then I'm going to take one of my metallic pearls. I did the gold ones. Oops. And I'm just going to put that on the very tip. There we go. I need to put this over here because these go to the other cards in the kit. And then to put on your sentiment, you're going to use dimensionals. And I put a lot on. The reason why, number one, I usually do. But number two, the reason I'm putting so many on is because that's going to be holding up your card. So you want to make sure that it doesn't move or come off. So that is why I'm putting 5 on. Whoops. Oh, the top came off. Go. And take this off. Okay, and I went up about a ½ an inch up. So that's what I'm going to do and center it on the sides. And there we go. And then fold it and you have your easel card. How cute is that? I love this card. It is so cute. So this is our third card. Boy, we're just booking along here, aren't we? How is everyone doing today? Are you guys having a great Saturday? Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. Okay, one more. And I have to say, I love how this card turned out. I'll let you guys finish up. Ouch. Oh my goodness, my nose is itching. I have the window open, so I think my allergies might be picking up here. So what, with this card, I saw someone do this with, this is the lattice from, oh my gosh, I can't think of the name of the, was it in here? I'm trying to think if it was in the annual catalog. Oh my goodness. But remember, it has the macrame with the plants, and I bought the whole stamp set and everything. And do you think I can remember the name of this? I was going to look it up because we were talking about it last night. Nope, that's not it. Goodness. Oh, is that? Here it is, Plentiful Plants. That's on page 81. I'm pretty sure that's the one I'm talking about. But the lattice is in there from that. Yes, this is it. Bloom Where You're Planted Sweet. I love this one, but I'm using this lattice. See how they have it behind the plants? Well, I was thinking, I had it laying here on the table, on my craft table, and I was like, how can I come up with something with that? And so I thought, oh, wait a minute. And I was looking at another project that I was working on, and it had the cherry cobbler and the crumb cake, and I'm like, I haven't used those colors yet. So I thought, well, let's use those. Let's see what I can do with it. And this is what I came up with for this card. So what it is we have our card base, normal card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. You're going to have a 4 by 5 1/4. That's going to go inside our card. Now this piece, I wanted it to match up perfectly with the lattice. So this is cut at 4 5/16. So on your trimmer, it's going to be 1 notch below the 5-inch mark by 3 1/4. And this piece here, you're going to use cut at 2 by 3. I use the everyday label. That's also out of crumb cake. Then you're going to cut 2 of the everyday label out of cherry cobbler. And we're going to be cutting those 2. I'll show you what we're going to do. And then I used my sprig punch, and I did 3 in the evening evergreen, and then I did 2 in the copper foil, because remember, you always want to do things in odds, so we needed an odd number here. So that's why there's 3 on the top, 2 on the bottom. So let's go ahead. We're going to first, let's do our stamping first. Let's do that. Okay, so we need the inside of our card. We're going to need our crumb cake. Anything crumb cake, that's what you're going to need. No, I take that back. We're not going to stamp on that. So we're going to need, this is what you're going to need. Your envelope, your inside of your card, and your sentiment. Now, on this, we're going to be using crumb cake on this part. And we are going to be putting trees. I don't know if you noticed that I have trees behind this Merry Christmas. Some of my ladies last night missed that, so I wanted to make sure I pointed that out. But again, you're going to stamp off, because otherwise it'll be too dark. So I'm using crumb cake, stamp it off, stamp 1 in the middle, stamp it off, stamp 1 on the sides, on each side. And I'm okay that this one's not very dark. I think I need to re-ink my crumb cake. There we go. And I wanted it light because I just wanted a hint of the trees behind. Then I'm going to put 1 on the inside of my card, and I'm not stamping off on this. I'm doing it full force, full ink, I should say. And then 1 on my envelope. Perfect. And then we're done with that tree. Okay. And that's all we're doing in the crumb cake. And we're going to get our cherry cobbler out one more time and use our Merry Christmas, because I love that Merry Christmas. So we're going to get that out, and that is going to get stamped right on top of our trees. I don't think you guys can see it, but when I lift up my stamp from my ink pad, the one side of my stamp is kind of flapping there. It's not sticking anymore. So I think it's funny. Okay. I love this font. That's why I think I love this so much. There we go. Perfect. And then we're all done with our stamping. So we can put all of our inks away. We are totally done with that. Okay, get those out of our way. This is going to go on the inside of our card, so let's go ahead and add it. We want to burnish our card base. And grab this. Oh my goodness, I just put that on the front of my card. Guess what you can do? No, it's on the inside of my card. Oh, that's the kind of day I'm having today. So if you accidentally put it on the front of your card, just fold it this way. Just bring it around, fold it down. It's now on the inside of your card. Oh goodness. Okay, let's get going on this part. Okay, so for this, you're going to need liquid glue. There are 2 sides to this. I didn't realize it until I started working with it. One is very flat, one is raised. You want the very flat side because that is where you're going to be putting the glue. And what you want to do is you're going to put a dot of glue on each of these solid circles here. And when I'll show you what I mean when I say a dot. It's tiny because your other stuff is also going to help. Oops, I got glue on there. It's also going to help hold it down. But see what I mean about tiny? The reason why I'm doing it so small is because when you press it down, it's going to spread out. And we don't want it to spread out so much that you see, whoops, I guess I can do that one a little bit more, that you see it outside. You see what I mean? I don't want it to be showing. Yes, this dries clear, which is really great. I love that. But at the same time, I don't want glue showing through the lattice work. So I'm just putting a little dot in the center of each of these. And this is plenty to hold it down in place. Okay. So then you're going to take this. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that right there. I'm going to take my paper, and this is cut, so it is the exact same size as your lattice. So I'm going to line it up here. Line it all up. And what's nice is, whoops, it's liquid glue, so we can move it around just a little bit to make sure we have it perfectly lined up the way we want it. Perfect. And then I'm going to press that down. Okay, so then you can go ahead and you can adhere this to the front of your card. Now your sides are going to be wider than the top and bottom. But for some reason, I have the hardest time getting this one straight. I don't know if it's the lattice that makes my eyes kind of go batty a little. I'm not sure. That looks good. Okay, so we press it down. Okay, so now we're going to take our sentiment. And if you see, I have red all the way around. Well, how am I going to get red all the way around if I only have two pieces? Well, we're going to cut them. But I have a couple tricks for you for when we cut them. The first one, you're going to cut in half going up and down. Just cut them in half like that. You're good to go. The second one, we're going to cut this way. And I want to show you something before I continue cutting my long pieces. So let me adhere my sides first. So what I do is I put tape just down here. So all I put is the tape. Then I'm going to leave it laying down on my silicone craft mat. Oh my goodness, I have glue all over me. And I'm going to bring it in. And again, I have it at an angle. I do not have it, I'm not pressing it down. And that I'm like, oh, that looks good. I like where that's at. So I press it down. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Leave it laying down. And I want to get it the same as the other side. So you want them equal. So there we go. Okay, now for this piece, we're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to cut it a little bit just because it's my preference. But I'll show you what I do. Okay, so we have this. So you can put this on here. Let me just put it on here so you can see what I mean. And I don't know if you can see on here, but right here, you can see the tip. I don't like that. I don't like seeing that little tip point there. If it doesn't bother you, leave it. But if it bothers you, what I do is I go right along here and I just cut it off. I'm just going right along the edge there and cutting that off because I don't want that showing. But like I said, if you don't mind it, leave it. It's all whatever is up to you. And then again, I'm going to adhere it the same way I did the other one. Whoops. Okay, so then I'm going to bring it up and I'm going to line that up. That looks good. And then I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to, whoops, that's crooked. So we're going to fix that. Come off. If you have a hard time taking that off, if you huff on it, it's going to, the heat from your breath is going to loosen that glue and it will come off easier. But so see how it looks now when I have it all put together. So then I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of this. But I'm not going to take off the back of the dimensionals. I'm just leaving them on there for right this second. And there's a reason for that. So see how I have my sprigs, but I don't know exactly where I want my sprigs. So I'm going to put this here and I'm just going to lay this like that. Okay, that is still crooked. Okay, we gotta fix that again. Whoops. Yes, I cannot get that one straight today. There we go, that looks better. Okay, so I'm just laying it here. Then I'm going to take 2 of my green and 1 of my copper, and they're gonna go in this corner here. So I'm kind of just, oh, that looks good. That's kind of where I want them, kind of thing. I made a lot of these, so I kind of know what design I want them in. But so I kind of want it like right here. So I'm gonna leave it, and I know right there is where, in this area right here is where I want it. So then I'm going to go back and I'm going to put some adhesive just on the bottom of these. I'm going to bring this in here again just to make sure this is where I want it. Grab one of my green ones. And I'm just going to tuck it under there. Whoops. Just lift this up, tuck it under there. Yep. That looks good. And I'm lightly laying it. I'm not tapping it down hard yet because if I want to adjust it, I want to be able to pick them up and move them around to adjust it. I think I want this one to come out a little bit that way, there. And then I'm going to stick this one right here. Let's put this back on here. Do I like where that's at? Yes, I do. So now I'm going to push it down. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. Like that. Put this on. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stick that under there. I like that. And grab my copper. Put that in there. Oops. I'm going to just lift that up. I'm going to stick this on here because the reason is I want to intertwine these two. So I kind of want to take and play with it a little bit. So I'm going to move that there because I only have 2 of them. So I kind of wanted them intertwined on there. Then I'm going to take the backing off my sentiment. I'm going to put that on here. That looks good. Line it up. Perfect. And there you have it. So there is that card. Let me quick clean up here and I'll get all of our cards out again. Made a mess here. Okay. Alrighty, so we have this card and we have our easel card. I guess we don't need to stick the envelopes under there. I'll just do the cards. And then we have this one. I'll put it like that. And we have this one. So there are the cards we made today. I hope you enjoyed my class today. To let you know that my gift card class is going to be coming up. I'm going to do it December 3rd. It's a Friday night in person. And I'm going to do it December 4th, which is a Saturday. Again, I will do that one online. That one will probably be done in the morning, like around 10. Because of commitments I have that afternoon. So that one I'll probably do in the morning. But that will be coming out soon. I'll be putting it on my blog, stampinscrapper.com, or I will also have it on Facebook. And if you go to my blog, you can sign up for my newsletter so that you get all the coming classes and things that I'm going to be having. So you guys have a great day, a wonderful Saturday. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we will talk to you soon. And there you go.